Hello, bonjour. Welcome to Pardon Our French with Quincy and Justine. We're back for episode 5.
Yes, we have a lot of exciting things going on. We got Eras Tour tickets, we watched the Barbie movie, and we just got back from Sardinia, which, dare I say, our best girls trip yet.
Really, such a good trip. We have an annual girls trip every year during the summer, and this year we decided to do Sardinia.
Yeah, last summer was Paros, and the summer before that was Positano. I just loved this summer.
Yeah.
The vibe was, we stayed in this island off the north of Sardinia called La Maddalena, and it was a bit more local. There was not a lot going on in terms of nightlife or anything, but
we barely heard English, which was honestly score.
Yeah, that was amazing. That's kind of the vibe we were looking for. We weren't trying to find like a crazy party island, so it was honestly perfect. It was so tranquil. We did a couple beach days, but we also did a couple boat days to kind of go around on these stunning beaches and just sort of like...
Boat days are our favorite.
Yeah.
we must have a boat day, and we missed ours last year, so we had to have 2 this year.
Yeah, 2 boat days, a necessary addition to this trip, and it really made the trip, I feel like.
Yeah, and if you guys go to La Maddalena, it's like some of the most beautiful water I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. And I've been to Tahiti, I've been to the Caribbean. This water was incredible. So definitely take a boat if you're going, because they are off of islands, so you can't really get there, a different way.
Yeah, and the boat is great too because it was really hot. It was not as hot. So we were in the north. In the south, it's actually 10 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than it was where we were. So it was about 95 degrees Fahrenheit where we were.
Yeah. Imagine south.
Yeah, that prompted me before the trip to buy a sun shirt, which I utilized. And
she was the only one who didn't get burned.
Yeah, to perfection, I should add. I was the only one who didn't burn.
Wow.
So,
but I did get the tannest.
All right. All right. But anyways, so what else? So we went to see the Barbie movie.
Yes. Go see the Barbie movie.
Yeah, go see it. It's not what you might expect. It's more of like a social satire commentary on womanhood in today's world. And since we went with like a bunch of girlfriends plus Zach,
shout out Zach.
Shout out Zach. We laughed, we cried, and we really encourage all of you to see it.
Yeah, it was really awesome to see it with like, there were a lot of men in the salle, I was gonna say, in the theater. Yeah. So there are a lot of men, which I loved, and like everybody was laughing. So it's like clearly a satire, but also it made us feel super seen in like our girlhood, like you said.
Absolutely.
And then we got our Eras Tour tickets, and we got 4 dates.
I still can't believe we got 4 dates. It was really, I mean, honestly, everything that happened in the U.S. kind of happened for the French Ticketmaster situation. Mm-hmm. But luckily, Justine and I somehow got codes for a special UK England, pre-sale. So that was pretty much our saving grace. We'll be booking our Eurostar imminently. Obviously, we just got back from Sardinia, but it is the time of year, essentially after Bastille Day, or as we say here, the 14 Juillet, the national holiday, that the city starts to empty out a little bit.
Yeah.
There is the stereotype of French people not working. I, first of all, don't think that this is true. We'll discuss this more. We're going to do a work culture episode. But I think the framing needs to be flipped to the opposite way, where it's not that French people don't like to work or don't work. It's that they value more of a balanced life.
And prioritize their personal life.
Yeah. More than Americans do, or are more than Americans are able to do with the work culture in the U.S. This week, actually, both of our bosses, kind of made grand statements, yours in an email, mine over one of our meetings, to take time off, to reset. Really, it's just a different mindset.
Yeah, it really is. Like, our CEO literally emailed the entire company, was like, as much as I love working with you all, and I'm so proud of all the accomplishments we made this year, like, please take time off. Like, go enjoy your family, your loved ones, yourself, the beach.
Yeah.
And even my boss, when I told him I was going to take, like, 2 weeks off this in August, I was scared to tell him, because I feel like in the U.S. they'd be like, that's a little bit too much at once.
No, it's really surprised me how, so my bosses just went on leave, and like some other people in the office, and looking at like just the way that they approached like telling everyone that they're going on leave, it's just like, oh, I'll be on leave, I'll be back in a month.
Yeah.
And they don't it's the complete most normal thing they've ever done.
Yeah, and because I was saying it in kind of like a frightened way, my boss was expecting like, I don't know, I'd be gone for 2 months or something. Yeah. And I was like, he's like, wait, that's 2 weeks, Justine. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, that's normal. Please go. I was like, oh my God, okay, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of work, I have a little bit of a visa update. I thought that I was going to have to go back to the U.S. to do this switcheroo type thing at the consulate, but I actually found a solution. I'm going to be applying or switching my visa over from a student visa to something called the Recherche de Travail, looking for work visa. Essentially, it's a visa that is given to anyone who's done their master's in France at a certain number of institutions. And it gives you a year to look for a job, to have a job, and then very importantly, it puts you on the same level as a French person in the hiring process. So whatever company or organization hires you, they don't have to immediately put in all that effort and money into sponsoring. So I'll be switching over to that as sort of like a stepping stone. I will be staying at the organization I'm currently at.
Applying for an official position?
Yes, I am applying for an official position. There's sort of like a temp status, which is what I'm on now, as like a local, just a temporary hire. And then I will be applying for the official position, which is a bit more sturdy in terms of stability, which will be nice. Yeah. So
speaking of stability, I was on a CDD, which is a short-term contract, and a lot of companies start you off on that because it's more safe for them. In France, it's really hard to fire people, so they kind of put you on that, and then they're like, are we going to transfer you over or not, depending on how well you work. Yeah,
sort of like getting fired would be the equivalent of just like your contract not being renewed. But you would never like actually get fired and, on no notice have to leave your job.
Yeah, that's like illegal in France. Yeah. And so I've just got approval for a CDI, which is a permanent contract. So now they can't fire me. Just kidding. But I'm really excited because that just makes me feel a lot better. I don't have any, like 6-month contract things where you get renewed or you don't get renewed.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the most important thing is that you don't want to be living in a perpetual state of anxiety, wondering if you have a job around the corner or not, which is sort of where I am right now.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I mean, my contract was renewed and everything, so that's fine, but it would be really nice. I am applying for not a CDI because my organization doesn't do those, but something that's a bit more stable and would be a longer contract. So I'm glad that you finally got yours.
Thank you. Yeah, mine was kind
of a little bit belated
for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, and as I was saying, I'm going off for 11 days. My parents are coming from the US for a month, and we're going to go to the south of France with my grandparents, and then we're going to spend 1 week on the Amalfi Coast, which I'm
jealous.
Really excited about.
I've been like peeking over her shoulder when she's looking at Airbnbs. I'm very jealous. But let's talk more about Paris in the summer, because we talk about how we're all leaving, and a lot of the Parisians are leaving the city at some point, if not for the larger part of this month. But what is it like in August or,
Yeah.
I guess I say summer. I do mean specifically more August.
Yeah. I feel like August is just known as the quiet month in Paris. Smaller businesses close, sometimes for weeks. They don't update their Google businesses. So don't be surprised if you do come to Paris in August and you want to go somewhere and you show up and it's like locked up and there's just a note in the window that says...
Yes, it's the note. Yeah. It's like a little handwritten scrawled note. And it's like, we'll...
Close for the summer.
We'll see you September 5th. Like, there it is. So, I don't know. It's very, casual. And I don't know. They just have no qualms about shutting down and taking their time as they should.
And I remember my first summer, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, can't they just update their Google business?
Yeah, because a lot of time it'll be like a boulangerie.
Yeah.
If it's not a chain, if it's a smaller boulangerie, like they'll just close for the whole month. Then where are you going to get your baguette?
Yeah, you got to find a different bakery. And
you have to resort to Eric Kaiser. Sorry.
She can't chat on that. You go there all the time.
I do go there all the time.
But, you get used to your local boulangerie, then you have to try new ones. You don't know if it's going to be as good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just don't be surprised. Also, there are a lot of tourists in August. I feel like the majority of people who are in Paris are tourists.
That's very true. And so we might offer some tips on how not to piss off the French people when you're here.
We do have a stereotype in Paris that we're not very nice to Americans specifically.
Yeah, a lot of the times, and I hate this, but it's like you are around, just walking around or at a restaurant or something, and you hear Americans, and, well, you do hear them because they're always the loudest group. And I know people always say that, but it's so true.
And then the majority of tourists that do come here.
Yeah. So there are some things that you can do when you're here that will also improve your experience with French people, because 100%. There's the stereotype of, French people are so rude. And it's like, okay, but maybe let's like look at the situation. Things that are important to French people in terms of just like respect is when you walk into a shop or to a restaurant, you address the people working there. You say, bonjour, just like a small little thing to just say hello. And that can go a long way.
Literally, that'll make your entire experience like so different.
Yeah. Waiting maybe at, if you're walking up to a cafe, wait to be seated. Don't just, sit down and throw all your bags onto 2 or 3 tables, Just have some, I
You're
think,
stepping into their home.
Yeah.
It's like you're entering someone's home. You're going to address the people who are there.
Yeah. And I know there's this trend on TikTok right now about how, Americans specifically are coming to Europe and they're not finding things the way that they would like.
Yeah.
But it's not the US.
No.
It is a different continent. It's different countries. It's a different way of life, different customs. And so you should not expect this to just be like a more aesthetic US.
Yeah. And it's also so old. Like things are beautiful because it's like history and ancient, but when things are old, they're different. There's no AC here because we didn't build AC units into apartment complexes. And yes, I do complain about that because I'm hot in the summers, but just like don't expect everything to be so pristine and you're going to be sweaty. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. No, but I think the one thing that I observe about Americans, and I think the stereotype is that Americans are very entitled.
Yeah.
They come and they just expect everything to be the way they want it to be.
In France, they don't get paid for tips. They're not serving you so that you're going to tip them. They get paid the same regardless if they're nice to you or not. And so they're not automatically going to be like, oh my God, what can I do for you? Anything for you? I feel like in the US, we're really spoiled and we're used to that.
Yeah.
And so our experiences at restaurants are a lot more pleasant because these people want your money. So they're like, let me just make this the most amazing experience you've ever had.
Mm-hmm. But here they're not coming over your table every 5 seconds, like refilling your water. That will be something that you have to like flag them down for.
Yeah. Or even the check.
Yeah.
They also won't take your plates away until everybody at the table is done.
Yeah. But the thing about the check I really like, because I feel like in the US, it started during COVID a lot, I think with the 90-minute limits or whatever, but they're trying to like turn the table. They don't try to do that here.
No.
So even if you finish your food and you get dessert and you get your coffee, they're not going to immediately bring the check. They're going to let you sit there as long as you want until you ask for the check.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I do really like that about here. I think that's one of my like reverse culture shocks, if you will, is like when I go back, I hate when they take my plate away before everybody else is done.
My most hated phrase in English when the waiter comes over is like, are you still picking at this? First of all, I'm not picking at my food. I'm not a bird. And secondly, no, I'm not.
But yeah, so I think definitely learning a couple of French phrases, saying bonjour when you enter a store, a cafe, a restaurant.
Yeah. Even if you just say, parlez-vous anglais? Do you speak English? That goes to show that you're trying a little bit.
Yeah. And don't be offended if they speak English back to you, because I feel like it's obvious when, you probably don't have fluent French to the point where you could hold a conversation. So they will like meet you halfway, and it's not because your French is bad. I think most of the time they really appreciate your first effort at speaking French.
Totally. It just like sets the tone. And I think that is what is most important, whether you know how to say, everything or not. It just shows that you're trying.
And then if you're coming to Paris in the summer, which bank should you stay on?
Absolutely.
We definitely went over that a little bit when we were talking about how to find apartments. And I think we both are more partial to the right bank.
Yeah.
But they're different, and it really depends on the experience that you want.
Yeah, I think if it's your first time coming to Paris, I mean, I don't want to say, we said this in our episode, if it's your first time coming to Paris, I might stay in the 6th or in like the Marais, the 3rd and the 4th.
Yeah.
Because those are places that are very quintessential Parisian vibes.
Yeah.
But if it's not your first trip to Paris, if you're, kind of going down to the 2nd tier of things to do, this is not like the Louvre and the,
Eiffel Tower.
Tour Eiffel trip. You can look to stay in the 2nd or in the 10th or in the 11th. And there's a bit more variety of places that you could try, especially if you don't want to necessarily have just,
tourists all
the
around
Instagrammable Paris trip.
Yes. And we are going to be starting like a Pin That Shit series.
Yes.
About our overhyped and hyped accordingly places. And so I think one thing that is really all over Instagram is the Big Mama group, specifically Pink Mama being the most popular restaurant in Paris.
Yeah, it's an Italian restaurant group.
Yes.
And all their staff is Italian.
Yes, and it's beautiful. Like every single one of their locations is gorgeous.
Yeah, they've put a lot of work into the interior. It's very
It's good. It's affordable for what, I mean, it's good food. I think it's fairly priced. I personally would go to a Big Mama group if you're looking for like a little Instagrammable place.
Yeah.
Pink Mama, you have to reserve in advance because people go to that one a lot. It's the most popular.
Yeah. I would say as a rule of thumb, just reserve in Paris.
Yeah, in a restaurant, honestly, same. Yeah. And I would say that was hyped accordingly. Maybe it's a little bit overhyped.
It's a little overhyped. I mean, the food is good. The prices are
but I think
decent.
Every time we have a friend that comes over, we will take them.
Yeah. I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I do keep going back.
However, the other Instagrammable places like Lulu, which is by the Louvre, and Giraffe, which is by the Eiffel Tower, I think those are overhyped.
Yeah, I have not been to those because they're so expensive.
Yeah, they're so expensive, but also it's like only tourists.
Yeah, it's only tourists. And that's okay if that's what you want to do. If you want your trip to be like the most aesthetically pleasing trip to ever hit the Instagram feed, then those are probably your places. But there are a lot of also more authentic places that are still cute.
Like so cute. Everything in Paris is cute.
That's true.
I'd say I use Google Maps. I think that it's really fair when you get a 4.5 or above, it's going to be a good place and a good experience.
Yeah, I use the Urban Journalist app. I basically have pinned like a ton of the places that I like to go in Paris. If you want to go and check out my page on that app, you can see the places that I actually like to go in my life. That's cocktail bars, that's different museums, different cafes, things like that. I know you do a lot of that on Google Maps.
I do, yeah. I'm like a local guide on Google Maps, and I have a lot of like saved places that I send out to people who reach out on Instagram who are looking for more local areas. Yeah. And I think we will both combine our recommendations and create a guide on our website.
Yeah, we're going to put that up. So don't feel like you have to have a pen and paper down for this episode when we say everything. But in terms of museums, I know you're a bit less on the musée side of things.
I'm not a musée girly.
I'm kind of in between. I like to go see some things, but I'm not like all the time at some exhibit. My favorite thing, though, that I recommend to people that you might not know about is the Fondation Louis Vuitton. It is in Paris. You can access it on the metro line and everything, but it's a little bit outside. And they do a lot of incredible modern art exhibits. Right now, there's a Warhol and Basquiat exhibit that I saw that was incredible. I actually did not know that they worked together in New York. So all these paintings that are in the exhibit are things that they did together. I thought it was going to be sort of like a juxtaposition of the two, but to have them together was incredible. So highly recommend going to see that.
Because your typical Louvre and Musée d'Orsay are going to be packed with people.
Yeah.
Huge lines outside. If you're coming to Paris, book that in advance because it'll be sold out.
Booking museums, booking exhibits, things like that are really important as well.
Don't say, oh, we'll do it when we get there. Like, absolutely not. If you do that, you will not get in.
Yeah, that's like when I went to Amsterdam. I was trying to book. It was one of the museums, but then also the Anne Frank House. You have to book it like a month or
I did that
more
like 3 months in advance.
Yeah.
But
way ahead.
Yeah, I think for museums, for museums, for me, I like things that are like telling a story or things that I can touch or where I can have an experience. And Musée de Carnavalet, which is in the 4th, is super cute. It shows you kind of like the history of Paris, how it came to be. And then there's also a really cute garden in the interior courtyard where you can get drinks, you can eat, also reserve. So adorable. But it's really beautiful. And that's something that I will definitely go to.
Yeah, and that museum is free too. And I mean, you don't necessarily have to go and do the whole museum to sit down at this cafe, but
it gives you the history of Paris, which is really cool if you're coming here to learn about it.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing I would recommend that's sort of lesser known, there's a chateau in Sceaux, spelled Sceaux. Yes. It's not necessarily clear, but it's a little bit outside of Paris, but it's on the RER, which is sort of one of the local train lines. And I went there for a picnic one year, and it's just, another beautiful chateau that you can go and sit outside of, and something that's not, Versailles.
Which is still gorgeous. Versailles, I think, for me, is the most beautiful chateau. Yes. It's just another overly hyped place, so you kind of don't appreciate it as much.
I would say it's very hyped up, but I think it lives up to the hype.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm always impressed when I go, and I've, been
a million times.
Yeah. But other fun day trips you can do from Paris, you can go to Reims, which is where all the champagne is made.
Yes.
You can go to Giverny, which is, and you can go see Monet's house and where sort of he got all the inspiration for the water lilies. Mm-hmm. If you want to go to see all the water lilies, they're in the Musée de l'Orangerie by the Jardin des Tuileries. There's so much to do. And again, we're going to write this all down. So
you can do a little weekend trip to the Loire. I just went to the Loire with Jean for his birthday. It's literally 2 hours out of Paris, and you can just stay in a hotel and visit chateaux that are along the Loire
that's the
River.
thing to do in the Loire is to go see all the incredible chateaux.
Yeah, really gorgeous. There's so many things to do that aren't just like inside of Paris.
Mm-hmm. And so if you do have, I mean, it's hard though when people are coming for shorter,
like just a week
visit,
or a few days.
To take that time. But if you do, I mean, things that are, Château de Sceaux and Reims and Giverny, those are farther away. But things like the Fondation Louis Vuitton, that's inside Paris. That's you can be doing that in the morning and be back in Paris doing something else in the afternoon.
And Musée de Carnavalet is literally in the forest.
Yeah, that's in the center.
You can literally go shopping around Rue Vieille du Temple, which is my favorite area to shop in because you have some really cute small boutiques and also some bigger names. Mm-hmm. And it's just right around the corner.
I do like that area for shopping because it's not like going into a department store. It's smaller shops. There is a Sandro outlet there. It's like revolutionized my life. But essentially, if you're coming and you do want to do something a bit more authentic, if you want to find where the French people are in the summer, go to the Quai de Seine.
Absolutely. Don't picnic in the Champ de Mars, which is the park in front of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, no.
Like everybody else does. They're like, oh, go picnic. No. Go to the Quai de Seine with your picnic by Pont Neuf or Ile Saint-Louis around like the 2nd, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mm-hmm. There are so many locals. Yeah. And it's just such a nice feeling and ambiance and just, I don't know, so classic Paris.
Yeah, it's just a very vibrant and energized group of people, and everyone is kind of just enjoying their time with their friends, and everyone just seems to be of
bonne humeur.
Yeah, I was going to say bon esprit. They also have this thing called Paris Plage at the end of the summer where they put out kind of beach chair type things and little spritzers to keep you cool, and you can sit by the banks of the Seine and sort of feel like you're on the beach.
You can't swim. I guess you can soon.
I just saw, they have 3 new swimming spots in Paris that you're going to supposedly be able to swim in by 2025. I personally will not be doing.
There is also already one in the Canal Saint-Martin, which is like the little canal that splits the 10 and like the 18th, which also I would never swim in. I'm sorry, I've seen a dead rat in the Seine. There's no way I'm going in that water. Like, thank you, but no.
Yes, but the Canal Saint-Martin is also a fun place to hang out.
Absolutely, and that's even more local. So if you want to be around French people and no tourists, Canal Saint-Martin, like Villette. There's just bars all over. There's pétanque, which is bocce ball. They're like just people enjoying their lives. Like it really is l'esprit français of just like stopping time and hanging out with their friends.
L'art de vivre.
Oui. The art of living. So yes, those are, I think, our favorite places to go in the summer.
Yeah, it's kind of all about being outside, honestly. We don't spend a lot of time in cocktail bars or clubs, God forbid. Yeah. Any of that in the summer. It's really all about being out on the terrace at cafes for apéro or being on the Quai de Seine, having
buying
a picnic.
Your bottle of wine that costs like €3.
Yeah, and borrowing a bottle opener from another group. And, it's these types of things that kind of define or what I think of summer in Paris. And we start this quite early. The first day that it's like just
sunny,
above freezing and sunny, you will find tons and tons and tons of French people out on the Quai de Seine having their bottle of wine. Yeah. And it just feels so good.
It's like happiness.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so this is a brief overview. We are going to, be adding some more specific things to our Instagram. You can also let us know on our Instagram if there are things that you would want to know more about, if like cocktail bars are more interesting or cafes, restaurants, things like that.
Feel free to DM us. We have restaurants ranging from like just a casual dinner to like a really fancy dinner that might not be like an overhyped place, but something super nice and intimate. So yeah, DM us. We're also going to post everything that we talked about today on our website, which is going to be accessible through our link tree and our bio. And And yeah, we have lots of recommendations to give. I mean, for example, I'm going to my first live drawing this weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Which I've never done in my life, but I've really been curious about doing, which is basically when you draw a nude person.
Is it a man or a woman?
It's a woman.
Okay,
I think
that's nice.
I would always prefer to draw a woman.
Yeah.
Women are just beautiful to me. They're just art in themselves.
Yeah.
So not that men aren't. Yeah, so I'm going to do that for the first time. I'll let you guys know how it goes. We have lots of like just little niche recommendations that we can give you just to make your Parisian experience special and unique. Next week, we are going to be talking about kind of the differences in nutrition, what we eat, the food differences, like culturally. I grew up with French parents, so I feel like my growing up has always been very influenced by like French culture, and we can kind of compare and contrast how that's different from the U.S. And also our physical health, because I feel like gym culture is huge in the U.S. and it's not very big here. So like, how did we find gyms? How do we find a way to move our bodies? And with that,
à bientôt.
Au revoir.